Hi there. Welcome to Draw With Me. I'm Danny Gregory, and every week we get together on Thursday and we spend close to an hour or so just drawing some random thing and chatting and hanging out. And each week I'm joined by JJ. Hello.
Hi.
So yes, I said every week, but we weren't here last week, and we were both felled by COVID.
It's still a thing.
Yeah, COVID.
Still a thing.
It's kind of our retro throwback kind of moment to have COVID, but we're fine now. Thanks for all of your notes and well wishes. But I don't know. This is like the second or third time.
Yeah, we've had a roller coaster. We go up, we go down, we go up, we go down. I'm hoping it's in the rear view. We're back to full health. And spring is starting to sprung over here in Phoenix, where we are. We're going to get a little rain today, which is nice.
Yes.
We're going to have a little eclipse tonight. Hopefully we'll be able to see it and won't be cloudy.
That's right. Tonight is the pink moon. Is it pink moon or red moon? Something like that. Anyway, it's a warm color.
Yeah.
And it will be, here at least it starts at 9 o'clock.
So we're pretty excited about that. We love an astronomical type of fanciful event.
Exactly.
And for people who are regulars to the show, you might remember that I make a cake every full moon. So I will be baking tomorrow.
Yeah, what are you going to bake?
I'm going to make a German chocolate cake. The last time was Nana's German chocolate, which was a bundt cake, and it didn't have the... So German chocolate cake is actually like an invention from Texas in the 1950s, but it's the special request of our friend whose birthday we will be celebrating on Saturday. So he has asked for German chocolate of the Americanized, fluffy coconut pecan, super sweet frosting in a mild chocolate cake. Well, I'm going to make it from scratch, but hopefully it'll go better than the last one. So y'all wish me luck, because I feel like all these things that incidents of troublesome times are in the rear view. No more sickness, no more bad cake.
I'm not sure what was worse.
That was long-winded, yes.
I'm not sure what was worse. So yes, people are saying that tonight is called the worm moon.
Oh,
it's
cool.
Called the blood moon. It's called the blood worm moon. Whatever. A bloody worm just doesn't sound good. So, but hopefully we will get to see it, and the sky will not be overclouded.
Yeah, we're hoping. But we need the rain, so we can't begrudge, and any rain clouds that come our way, we have to welcome them, because here in the desert it has been parched.
Martina says, "Why bake on the full moon? Why not?"
It was one of my quote unquote New Year's resolutions. I heard it in like a cooking newsletter, and I thought that's kind of fun. Like once a month you make a cake. So those of you who are regulars were privy to the failure of last month's full moon cake. It was one of our episodes where we
turned into a great drawing
illustrated recipe, which was fun, and other people made the cake successfully, which was fun to see.
That was nice. So so for people who are new, who've never been here for Draw With Me before, we tend to talk about bakery through most of the show, and then we might
we talk about food.
We squeeze in a drawing toward the
and
end.
Drinks quite a lot. I think we need all the time today, though, so we should just segue right into.
Yeah. So let me take over the screen here, and so one of the things that I did during COVID was lie around a lot, and I listened to some books on. They're not called books on tape anymore, audiobooks. But I also watched a bit of TV, and what I was watching was a show that I had rejected in the past. But I decided to give it a second chance, and I'm glad that I did. And it is a series on Sky TV in England that is called Portrait Artist of the Year. And there's an associated show called Landscape Artist of the Year. And I didn't really like the idea of it when I first heard about it, because I don't like artists competing with each other. It just doesn't seem right to me. It reminds me of like being in middle school and them having art contests and some people winning awards and other people getting bad grades. And that's the start of a lot of the trouble that I think, we now as adults have had to kind of get our way out of. So I don't like the idea of artists competing with each other, but what is really great about this show is you get to sit and watch artists paint the same subject, and you get to see different approaches to the same challenge, and you get to actually watch the process. And it's really, to me, it was very, very interesting. And if you've never seen the show, here's how it works. In the first half a dozen episodes or so, they have what are called like not the semifinals, the quarterfinals, whatever. They bring in a bunch of people, and they have 3 celebrities. They're English celebrities, so they're not like famous on the world stage necessarily. So a lot of them I had never really heard of. But they bring in 3 people, and then they bring in 3 artists to paint each of the 3. So 9 artists in total. And they give them 4 hours. And these artists, some of them are oil painters. That's probably the most common medium that people use. But there's also people using markers and using watercolors. When in the landscape one, there's quite a lot of people or a number of people who use sewing machines and take fabric and do kind of collages out of it. One of the episodes I watched, there was a guy who was a tattoo artist, and he used a tattoo needle to make scratches in a piece of metal, and that's how he did his portrait. So lots of interesting techniques, but also you get to see the discussion about how they're doing it and how they're approaching it and when they're doing well or not doing well. And the shows begin with each of the artists showing a self-portrait that they did. So you get to sort of get a sense of what they are about through that, and they do a little profile of them too. So it's really great. Now this show is available. If you have Amazon Prime, you can watch the whole series. But on YouTube, there's quite a lot of channels that have copied or shared episodes. Now, what's nice about watching the whole series is that they have 4 or 5 episodes with different groups of artists, and they pick 3 artists at the end of each episode, and then they winnow it down to a single person that wins each episode. And that person's going to get to go on to the semifinal and then the final. So you watch episode after episode, you see different groups of 9 artists, and at the end they have 9. Yes, I know. JJ's telling me I need to get going, but I want to set this up because
I know, but it's too much exposition.
It's too much exposition. I don't care.
It's like, just watch the show. Just watch the show.
No, but I'm explaining it for a reason. And the reason is that you get to see the development of the artists, and you also get to see the varieties changing. And ultimately, the prize is that you get to do a portrait of a famous person that's going to go in the National Gallery of Art. Okay. Whew. So, having been chastised, let me move on to say, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you, randomly selected from some season, I'm going to show you 3 different artists people that they painted. And we're going to draw each of those people. So we're going to spend 15 minutes, now that we have 15 minutes, on each of those portraits. And then at the end, I'm going to show you what the different artists did with that portrait. Okay? So that's it. Portrait Artist of the Year. Yes. All right.
So what are we doing?
Okay, so here we go. Here is the first celebrity. He is a man named Ainsley Harriott. And he's like a celebrity chef in England. He has a lot of TV shows. He's written a lot of books. He's a really great character. And so obviously they have the person sitting there for 4 hours posing for them. We only have this one still frame that I did of them. So it's a bit different. We're working from a photo. But we're going to spend 15 minutes just doing this person however we want to do him.
All right, 15 minutes.
Yeah, so...
and how many, you're going to try to do 4? Well, now you only have time to do 3.
I only plan to do 3, and we're only going to do 3.
Okay, good.
So what's interesting also is a lot of these artists, they might spend weeks doing a portrait, and they're not used to, like we are, working under a time frame. But, if they all watch Draw With Me, maybe they would be better at it. I don't know, we should see if any of our Draw With Me people want
So to. Midlife Gamer says Ainsley's a bit of a national treasure.
Yes, he seems to be a really, he's a delight on the show. And I was looking at his Instagram this morning, and he's just really.
I'm fond of his shirt.
Yeah, he's just a really sort of lovable character. And
I mean, we love a chef.
Yeah, he is.
I bet his full moon cake turns out great.
It's true. And he's also known for these shirts. He's known for these florals. So
it's kind of like our sketching friend Lapin, who always wears a floral shirt.
That's true, yeah. Lapin favors kind of more of like a liberty. Do you think liberty, that style of
but this kind of looks like it could be a Liberty print.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I love the the palette with the violet and the pinks.
Yeah.
I really love it when men wear pink and purple.
Well, another thing about this show is they paint the background, the scene that the people are in. And that often becomes a kind of an element in the portrait, is like how you use these bright colors. And they also ask each model to bring some object that means something to them. And he brought a pot, like a cast iron pot that his grandmother had used and that he loved. And it had this kind of filigree pattern on it. And a couple of the artists integrated that. But sometimes somebody will bring along like one of their pets, or they'll bring along
a guitar
or like an award that they won or stuff like that. So it's just another kind of element that artists can choose to feature if they want to.
But it's really interesting how diverse, 3 different artists approach it so differently. I think that's the funnest part, really.
It's like draw with me. Well, also, they're also different because they're, one is on the left, one's on the right, and one's in the middle. So they're seeing the model from different angles.
Some do work from a photograph.
A lot of them do. They take
a lot of pressure, I think, to,
Well, they're also kind of far away, from the artist. Like the model, they can see their entire body, but if they want to just do the face, a lot of times they go up close and they take a picture, and then they might have an iPad that they can use as reference. So
how many episodes of this show did you watch while you were down with COVID? This was like pretty much your...
I haven't really watched an entire season yet. I watched, I think 2 of the landscape ones and maybe 4 of the portrait ones. So the landscape ones are interesting because they go to a particular place, and again, they have like 8 or 9 artists, and they're generally, most of them are professionals, but some of them are amateurs. And then what they also do is they open it to the public. They have what's called like a wild card thing. So 50 people are allowed to come and paint just, random members of the public. And they have a sort of second competition, which is just kind of, it's like the U.S. Open or something.
The one we watched, at least, well, the one I watched, I think you watched a few, but the primary contestants had like little huts to protect them from the elements.
Yeah, they call them pods.
And then all of so it's like 9 people had little pods, and then all of the wild card people were out there in the rough and tumble.
Yeah, it's England, so of course it's like constantly raining on them, and raining on their sewing machines and stuff. But I think one of the things that, as I said, that bothered me about the idea of the show was that it was a competition. But
British people do competition really nicely.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's because they're English. Like, they're not, Americans are much more cutthroat about it.
That's what we love about British Baking Show, too, is that they all want to win, but they are on each other's side. They're happy to see someone else win, and they, support each other, and they don't, they don't backstab. Very British.
But also that's the way it should be with artists, you know? I mean, there was an American show that was an art competition show, and it kind of ended up being the same thing. I mean, artists just don't really want to compete with each other. It's just sort of irrelevant. And but there are so many, you know, watercolor contests, and I don't know, it just feels like the outside world wants artists to compete with each other, win ribbons and things, but I don't think most artists are kind of competing with themselves.
Lisa said there was a funny sore loser in one episode.
Oh, really?
Must have been an American.
Yeah, every so often there is an American in it.
We were talking about this yesterday, sort of relatedly, about how my generation, growing up in America in the 70s and 80s, we, you know, it was people did not get participation trophies. Like, it was, you either won or you lost. Like, you were not coddled in any way. And then there was a lot of backlash to that. I think there's a generation of millennials that were, you know, told that they got credit just for showing up, for being part of the game. And it's interesting just to see how that has changed over time. Yeah, and Kate makes a good point. A lot of this is in the editing, true, right? Like the producers of the show really want to emphasize the drama, so they call out those moments, you know, because they've got hours and hours of footage to make one 60-minute episode.
Stupid producers. Some of you may know that JJ was a producer.
I was a producer, and I definitely pulled some strings in editorial once or twice.
How much time have we spent on this, by the way?
5 minutes.
Oh, okay, good.
Actually, more like 7 minutes.
So we're halfway through.
So Drone Pro is asking, how is drawing from a picture different than drawing from a live model or object?
I think it's, I mean, in this case, really different. I mean, you're sitting there, you could definitely tell the difference when you look at the paintings that people did on the show between those artists who drew and painted from life, the art, you know, and looked at the model right in front of them, versus those who had taken photographs of them. I mean, there's no question that they were more alive, more loose, more interesting to me. You know, I mean, I would complain about this on the show a lot. That I would rather that we weren't having to draw from photos, but the nature of this, you know, being able to share references kind of requires that we do it this way. But there's no question that engaging with a living, breathing person is different than looking at a photograph on a screen. Because they're moving around too, you know? Like this pose that he's frozen in, you know, you'd never see him do this if you were there. It is artificial. I mean, I kind of did a screen grab where he had some motion to him, but you'll see the other two that we're going to do are much less active.
So the real question is Ainsley related to James Harriott?
Yeah, apparently.
I think the spelling is different, actually.
It's Harriott, not Harriott, yeah. We're big fans of all creatures, great and small here, too.
I saw someone in the chat from Yorkshire. Nice part of the world to be in.
Yeah, I wonder how people in Yorkshire feel about that. It's probably the thing that people around the world know Yorkshire for the most, right?
Yeah, Kate points out James Harriott is a pseudonym, right? It wasn't even a real name.
That's true.
And there's that.
Well, for all we know, so's Ainsley. His real name is Bob.
Ainsley is a great name. Drone Pro is also asking, is it better to start with quick gestures or take your time at first and do it right?
You know, it's entirely up to you how you develop your approach. As you can see, that's not what I do. I don't do quick gestures. I mean, you're seeing what I do. You know, I kind of, I mean, we don't have a lot of time. So, and also, frankly, if this person was moving, then doing quick gestures probably would be what you'd have to do. But
well, I mean, in some of the Sketchbook School courses, there have been instructors who talk about the fact that people and animals tend to move in repetitive sort of motion, right? So if you can kind of predict, like if someone's walking, you can, you know, watch them going across the park and they are going to replicate the same motion over and over again a few times.
that's true.
Same like with a dog, they kind of do the same.
I mean,
so it's been about 10 minutes now, just so you know.
I mean, I work, you know, I'm doing watercolor and I'm doing it pretty loose. So that's sort of more, I guess, more my gestural stuff comes from watercolor than it does from my line drawing. But what I also want to think about is trying to just not just copy the photograph, but trying to, you know, again, we don't have his personality here to affect what we're doing. You know, that's another thing that's nice about doing it live is you know, you're responding to their energy, to their humor or their warmth or their coldness or their formality, whatever it is.
Linda feels the show would be better if they didn't declare a winner, just let the subject choose their favorite. I think it's interesting how...
Well, they do that. They do have the subjects pick, but then they have these 3 judges, one of whom is a really good painter. I really love his work. And the other 2, one is an art historian, one is sort of a person who works in galleries as a curator. And so they don't always pick the same one that the model picked.
Well, from what we watched, they usually didn't.
Yeah, well, yeah, it varies. I mean, I have to say, yeah. I mean, what's interesting and fun about watching the show is you make your own pick and you decide like which do you think, you know? And I think it's different if this person is painting you, that is a different kind of a set of criteria that you would use to judge the painting versus, you know, if you're looking at it more objectively.
Right.
You know, because they get to actually...
Keep it, right?
I think they do get to keep it.
They do.
It's interesting, though, and I put down in the links below this episode, I put a link to the website for the show. And they do have a link to... they have a page on each artist who's ever been in the show. And then they also have a link to where you can buy some of their paintings. You can, in fact... buy...
No way.
Yeah, you can buy paintings that they did on the show.
That's cool.
Yeah, in fact, there was one that we saw. Do you remember that guy who did the black and white self-portrait of himself kind of leaning against the table? And it was kind of very abstract and raw.
The scratching with the...
sort of scratching. It wasn't like the... Anyway. It was there. It was £800, which is not a huge amount of money for a thing like that. Large... self-portrait. I thought it was pretty good. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll buy it.
We don't have any wall space. That's
true.
our problem.
It depends on what happens with the stock market, too, I guess. So, yeah. I like his pose better than what I didn't manage to capture his real energy.
I feel like you got one eye looks right and the other, the watercolor is kind of blend. Okay, you're going to fix that?
It'll dry. When it dries, it'll change.
I like the way the shirt turned out.
Yeah, I didn't want to do all the flowers, like draw the flowers, because I felt like that would just distract from his face. So how are we time-wise?
You're done.
We're done.
Oh, well, you have like 2 minutes if you want it.
Okay, I have 2 minutes. In that case, I'm going to just... Maybe I'll come back to this later on. Because it's...
Yeah, Lisa said he's kind of looking upward in the photo. And
Mine's looking more towards you.
Yeah, well, that's what he was going to do next.
Exactly, I'm anticipating. All right, so there we go. We're done with him. Just let him sit and dry. And meanwhile, we'll go on to someone else. And
okay.
The next person. So this next woman is I think she's a psychiatrist. Yeah, so she's like a famous psychiatrist, basically. And her name is Philippa Perry. So I think she's like
another good British name.
Yeah, it's a very British name. And she has a sort of eccentric hairstyle. And I think I'll do it over here. I like her black and whiteness. I'm kind of feeling like maybe I want to just stick to black and white.
So Elizabeth says married to artist Grayson Perry.
No way. Really?
Is that true?
No, I don't think so. First of all, she's a lady Philippa Perry. I don't think she's married to. I mean, I love Grayson Perry, but isn't Grayson Perry gay? Pretty sure he is.
God, we could have Googled this before the show, you know.
We're doing 3 subjects. Maybe she is married to Grayson Perry. I don't know.
Would Lisbeth lie to you?
I don't know. She's done it in the past.
All right, I have a Google result.
And?
She is married to the artist Sir Grayson Perry, and they have a daughter, Florence. They live in London.
Why did I think he was gay?
Well...
All right, well, good.
Yeah, I think he is maybe trans.
He's trans, right? He's, yeah.
They sound like very cool people. And I love her hair. I wish I could have bangs.
Why can't you have bangs?
Because my hair grows backward. Or some people, their hair grows...
My hair goes backward too. It goes into my head.
your hair grows onto the floor.
What does that mean, it grows backwards?
So my hair, I have like a widow's peak, which the way my hair naturally grows is sort of off my forehead.
You could get surgery.
I've tried to have, and you would think after all these years living with this hair, I would give up on bangs, but every couple of years I try again, and then they stick sort of like straight out. It's not too cute.
Grayson Perry did this series of talks, and he wrote this amazing book. So Grayson Perry is a ceramicist. If you've never heard of him, you've got to look at the series of talks that he did that are about art, contemporary art. It is just amazing. And he's super smart, super funny. And if you've never heard of him, you, I think, would enjoy learning about him.
Speaking of ceramicists, I saw our good friend Prashant is doing a residency somewhere in China doing ceramics.
Oh, really? I know he's been doing ceramics. I didn't realize that.
How cool is that?
That's really nice.
Have you ever done ceramics?
In fact, when I first had the urge to make art, that was the first thing I did, was I did some ceramics. And what I found was that I would like make a bowl or make a plate or something like that, and all I wanted to do was draw on it. So I would just draw with glaze. And then one day I was like, you know what? Why am I drawing with glaze? Why don't I just start drawing for real? And that was part of my journey.
So is that like a Sumi ink? What are you using there?
Yeah, this is Sumi ink.
So Sarah said Grayson cross-dresses as Claire, and students at Central St. Martin's make his outfits, or make her outfits.
Yeah, I mean, his outfits are insane.
Insane in a good way, insanely cool.
Yeah, really, really imaginative. And I mean, look at that jacket that she's wearing.
It's beautiful. It looks Japanese.
Right? Yeah.
Looks like Issey Miyake, kind of.
Yeah, see, she looks more imperious than the way I've caught her, but...
What does imperious mean?
You know, sort of like looking down, you know, a little bit more formal, judgmental almost. I mean, she sat very still during this show, and when she was posing, she was very like this. She wasn't animated. But when she talked, she was very nice.
I mean, I have to say, you're kind of jamming through this. You're going to have a lot of extra time.
So it comes from drawing with a brush. Now I'm drawing with a forked brush, which means I get to draw two lines.
I was going to say railroading.
Yeah. He who draws with forked brush.
Oh, cool. Good job on the hairs.
Yeah, her hair is really good.
Now, did you fork that brush deliberately, or it just kind of...
It just kind of happens.
Yeah. Deborah just asked the same question. No, you just took advantage of...
Yeah, I mean, it's you can make it do that, but I didn't. But
Martina asked, did you cut your brush? You never cut your brushes, right?
No, you don't want to ever cut it because it's... I mean, this is a synthetic brush, but even when it's a natural brush, and they're designed really so that each individual hair tapers. And so if you cut it, you would be ruining that taper. So...
yeah, I mean, some of these brushes are mega expensive.
Yeah, not mine, but yes, theory.
Well, you prefer a synthetic brush.
I don't, actually. I can afford a synthetic brush. I mean, my favorite brush is this one, which, as you can see, is like, see, that's all like worn away and all this. And
is it a Winsor Newton?
Yeah, this is a Winsor Newton. This is not synthetic; it's natural, and but it's like $100 brush. Whereas this is a synthetic version of the same kind of brush, also Winsor Newton, and I find it's pretty good. I like it. There was a long time where synthetic brushes were not really good, but the technology's come a long way.
So you've been on this for about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, Jen mentioned fan brushes are nice for hair. That's a good point.
Yeah, I never really used them. I think if you're a regular portrait, I mean, I guess I draw a lot of portraits, but I don't think of myself as a portraitist. A lot of these people on the show...
But you're the portrait artist of the year. The American portrait artist of the year.
Yeah, right.
But you're actually British.
But a lot of these people, they just paint portraits and...
I mean, they get selected based on their own self-portrait, so you have to be good enough to do a great self-portrait to get on the show. Lordy knows you do enough self-portraits. Danny's the selfie king.
Well, I'm the best looking guy in Phoenix. So, yeah. All right. Well, now I'm just kind of dicking around because we have...
All right, but that's a mistake.
Yeah, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that this is a great likeness, but
I think it's really beautiful. Linda just said in the chat, wow, Danny, that is beautiful. I think it's stunning.
That's the thing that they talk about on the show quite a lot, is getting the likeness. And
Lisa just made the most hilarious comment, though. She said, you should try out for PAOTY. You'd be done in 15 minutes and have lots of time to watch the other artists.
Yeah, that's true.
Danny draws incredibly fast. It's true.
All right.
Sorry, I interrupted you. You were going to say something about the show?
What was I going to say? I was going to say...
It don't matter.
All right. So the next model is...
someone else you didn't Google before the show?
No, this is a person who actually I've read 2 of his books.
Okay, good.
And his name is Rory Stewart. And
does he have a beard or a mustache?
Neither.
Wow, you denied yourself the opportunity.
Neither. So Rory Stewart, to me, is kind of a fascinating character. He was a diplomat, and he became very interested in Afghanistan, or Afghanistan, as they call it. And he ended up walking across Afghanistan 6,000 miles. So if you imagine, walking 6,000 miles is one thing.
Jeez.
Doing it in a place like Afghanistan, which is a pretty wild place. But yeah.
Not to mention hot.
And he wrote some fantastic 2 or 3 fantastic books about it. And he's a big, he runs some philanthropy. He's just
you didn't put his name on the screen.
I'm sorry, let me put his name on the screen. Here it is. Rory Stewart.
Rory, another very British name. I must say you kind of nailed it with these 3.
I think it's a Scottish name, actually.
Oh, well.
I don't know. Rory? I don't know. So yeah. So he actually, unlike anybody else I've seen on the show, he stood for 4 hours. Now, he's a guy who's walked 6,000 miles, so standing is probably pretty easy for him, but still, yeah. He stood for 6 hours. I'm kind of into this brush thing. I think I'm going to do another brush.
No.
Yeah, it's working for me.
Oh, wow.
But I think I'm going to do it in a color.
Ah, so Violet said Rory is Scottish from the word for red. See, Violet would know this, having a colorful name.
There you go. So, yeah, Rory Stewart. Has anybody heard of him?
Yeah,
people have heard of him.
A number of people have.
I mean, his books were probably 15, 20 years ago, but he's a really good writer and just a real modern day adventure. I have to say the painting, and I'm going to show you the painting that somebody did of him, was just about my favorite painting anybody's done in the show. It's not the one he picked. He picked this sort of much more heroic one, but this other one that...
Well, maybe you can buy it. Maybe it's on the site.
I really, really liked it.
What was his prop? A cane?
No.
A chair?
A wheelchair, actually.
Poor guy.
No, it was a pair of hiking boots.
Mm. Oh, so Photo Vincent corrected me. He walked through winter, so it was snowy and frosty. Jen is asking about the show, what does the winner win? I think it's just
the winner
portrait
wins
in the National Portrait Gallery.
As I said,
right?
So like the season that I'm watching now, they get the assignment of painting. What's her name? The chimp.
What?
The chimp. She's so famous. The scientist who studied chimpanzees.
Oh, Jane Goodall.
Jane Goodall, right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thinking that was taking a real left turn.
I know. Sorry.
Speaking of, we've got to watch that movie, the Robbie Williams thing, where the whole movie, he's portrayed by a digital chimpanzee. It just looks brilliant. I don't know. Has anyone seen it?
It's not really speaking of, but yes.
Well, it just reminded me that we wanted to see it, and
I've done a bad job with his face.
I mean, I warned you not to do this brush thing again. Lightning cannot strike twice.
Yeah, it's not good. Let's start again.
Well, you have a little extra time because you went so fast on Philippa. Did I pronounce that right? Philippa. Jen said, I was so confused. They win a chimp? Sign me up.
They win. Yeah, it's a small chimp, but...
I took a picture of our two puggies this morning, and they both really look like monkeys in it, I have to say. So maybe just get a pug or two, like we have.
She has greyhounds.
I had to get up so early. I had to get up at 5 o'clock this morning, and the dogs were so complete. It was like they won the lottery. They were like, wow, we're gonna have breakfast so early.
I don't know why I'm finding this guy hard to draw. He doesn't have a particularly complicated face.
Maybe you need to slow down.
Impossible.
You also didn't leave yourself a very nice section of that page, I guess because of the chimp face mistake.
Well, I think I'm also intimidated because, as I said, the woman who drew him, who did the...
You had greatly admired.
I was like, that was so good. And I keep thinking back to that. I'm thinking, ugh, there's no way I can come near to that. What she did was so good. He also he's not as distinctive somehow. I haven't figured out how to do this distinctive part of it. Anyway, I know what I was talking about before you were talking about whatever you were talking about. Was they talk a lot about, on the show, about reaching the likeness. Like, in other words, you can do a good painting, a good portrait painting, but the likeness is almost like a separate element to it. You know, it's like, does it actually look like the person? And what are the little teeny tiny things that make it look like the person? You know, and that, now a lot of these people are painting with oil paint, which is a really different process than what I'm doing. You know, because with oil paint, you're moving things around, you're layering things, you're working in just a very different way. With the way I draw and paint, it's just kind of like either you hit it initially or you're screwed. But with oil painting, you can continue to make adjustments.
Well, and even with watercolor, I mean, any kind of painting, right?
Well, you can't really make adjustments with watercolor. No.
Don't you? Okay, so we did a workshop a few years ago with the wonderful portraitist named Mario Robinson. And he had a quote in that he said, color gets all the credit, but tone does all the work.
That's true. And he was able to capture, but it took the way he paints is also different than me because he's very disciplined. And
he goes very slowly.
And he paints like 8 hours to do a watercolor portrait. So I take 8 hours to do 800
8 seconds to do a portrait.
Yeah. So anyway, what he does is he layers tone, layers and layers and layers of watercolor, and that's how he gets.
But that's what I meant when you were talking about the oil painting. It's kind of the same. Like there's a little bit of magic involved because you can't really see it until you're well through the process.
Yeah, now I'm getting depressed.
Oh, sorry, babe.
But anyway, I'm not really depressed.
I mean, you came off that high of... You should have picked a guy with a beard because you're really good at this.
I think that this is recognizably him.
I mean, especially if you put his name underneath.
That I find is the most defining feature of most models is their name. So, how are we doing time-wise?
You have 9 minutes remaining.
Maybe I could do him a few more times. Anyway,
You're giving him the, Celtic red face.
Well, his name is Rory.
Yeah, I've got the Celtic red face. Should see me when I'm playing tennis.
See you when you have COVID and you're playing tennis.
Sarah said Rory looks more distinctive when he smiles.
That's true. He's not a big smiley guy, though. He's like a pretty zen kind of fellow. Imagine he spent all this time just walking by himself through the hinterlands of Afghanistan or Afghanistan.
I don't know about those red eyes you gave him.
It's a painting in red. His name is Rory, so I'm painting him in red. If you knew a lot about art, you would understand.
Aaron, so a few people have mentioned Rory has a podcast called The Rest is Politics, which a lot of people have said they like, but Erin is bothered by Rory's super posh British accent.
Oh, is she? Oh, are you, darling? See, I think if I did this and I was on that show, they would be like, yeah, that's a good...
I mean, Rory would pick it. He'd definitely want this hanging in his, above his commode.
And I would say, I'm not ripping this out of my sketchbook. You're out of luck, Roar. And what if he said I would walk 500 miles? Then I would walk 500 more just to have that painting hanging above me, Lou. All right, I think we're done. I think I'm just doing stuff now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, All right, I think I got I don't know. I'm not gonna judge.
I mean, what are you gonna do about the ghost of Rory in that other little segment?
I'm gonna write some stuff about it. Come here. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna have him thinking about that. He could be thinking about the ghost of Rory past.
Oh my God.
What I'm going to do is, this is a page in my journal, and I'm going to write a whole story about this. And that's going to fill in this whole page. But I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to do that when I do it. And when I do, this will be palimpsest. Is that the term? Do you know?
You're using a lot of SAT words today.
It's SAT season, isn't it? Sarah says he could pass as Eddie Redmayne's older brother.
I can see it. Again, the red.
His name is Eddie Redmayne.
What if you were Rory Redmayne? It'd be like red on red.
Red on red. Isn't that a song?
No, it's a blue on blue.
Black on black.
Heartache on heartache.
All right. Well, my Rory is kind of squished a bit. He's a little squished. You know, he got squished by all that walking. So, anyway, there he is.
There was an attempt. Those red eyes are really just killing me, babe.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a little demonic. A few people have mentioned Mick Jagger in here in his.
Well, he's got those lips.
Yeah.
Or David Johansen, the late David Johansen.
Oh, R.I.P.
Hard to believe David Johansen is no longer with us. But that's what happens when you do heroin for 20 years. Eventually it catches up with you. Party's over. All right, there we have it. Okay, so now here's the best part of the show. I'm going to take mine away. Well, I'm not. Yeah, where am I going to put it?
You want me to hold it?
No, it's good. So I want to show you what the artists did. You ready?
Yeah, I am.
I think this will be cool. So for those of you who are now still slightly nauseous after looking at my drawing, you will be able to see what professionals did. So, all right, so here's...
Professionals with 4 hours time.
So here's the first Ainsley Harriott. Now this painting is interesting because this person paints on wallpaper.
Oh, cool!
And it's from her grandmother's house, and she worked into it. You can't really see it here, but she had mentioned that Ainsley brought his grandmother's pot, and the artist worked some of those designs into the background. So yeah, painting on wallpaper, interesting.
Love it.
This next one. Painted the entire studio. This is a screen grab from YouTube, so it's not perfect, but this is basically it. It was like a little tiny thing, and then this gigantic set. That was an odd choice, but that's what they did. And then this one is a watercolor, which you don't see that often on this show. Watercolors, but it's a watercolor. So.
Which one did he pick?
I
Or you don't know?
He picked this one with the wallpaper.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Did he? Or maybe he picked the watercolor. Might have picked the watercolor.
It doesn't matter.
I don't know. Which do you think? Which would you have picked?
I mean, certainly not the one with the like huge set piece.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a choice.
That's odd. But which one did you pick then? The wallpaper or the watercolor?
I like them both.
I don't know what I would have done. All right, let's move on to Philippa Perry. So I happen to really like this artist's work. I quite like this painting. What do you think?
I have a delay. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, Twigs. Oh, Twigs.
It's nice. It captures her.
I know.
And this was my favorite, although the judges didn't pick it. He painted on this. He also did a self-portrait using the same yellow canvas background.
Cool.
And I think he captured her personality in a totally different way. So, yeah, I love that lemon yellow. It's a really interesting choice.
Is there a third?
And here's the third. I'm not sure which one she picked either. I think this is quite realistic. I don't know that I love it as a painting, though. What do you think?
I like the yellow one.
Yeah, this one is the most striking, right?
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really
totally awesome.
Good. All right, and now finally here is Rory. I don't know. I don't think mine is that much worse than this one. This is actually the one that he picked.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it kind of has a bit of the Mario Robinson about it. I think it's actually really beautiful.
It was very, epic, I think it was that one. Yeah. This is the one that I love. This is my favorite one. Painted on wood. And just unusual, weird, but it kind of captured him in a strange way. These eyes were kind of asymmetric.
Yeah, I love that. It has a little Alice Neal about it.
Yeah.
Except he's not nude.
Most Alice Neal paintings. It's the self-portraits that are nude.
I've seen a lot of nudity in Alice Neal's work.
It's the lines and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, really it's cool. Good. Really cool.
And then this one, which was, yeah. I mean, this is his pose. This kind of like looking to the future pose. So, but this one, actually, I think this one is true. I think Lisa asked that guy one. It wasn't a guy. It was a woman who painted this one. I think this won the whole show.
Oh, cool.
The whole episode.
Yeah.
And then presumably he's going to go on to the other thing. So, yeah.
Groovy. All right.
Good,
well, we're kind of over length here. So
yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this. Maybe in the future we could do the landscape one. See, it was fun. It was interesting.
I had fun.
Good. So did I. Most of the time. So anyway. So all right. So thanks for joining us today. Please consider becoming a member of this channel. You can do it for like $2 or $3 a month. I have been putting up sort of behind the scenes stuff about the videos that I've been making and sharing various things. In fact, I put up a video yesterday, which you may have seen, where I talked about the most expensive sketchbook I ever had, that I had made for me.
I thought it was a great video. I really loved it.
Thank you so much. Yes. And I did it's like 7 or 8 minutes, that video, but originally I did like an 18 or 20 minute version where it was much more in depth and I showed a lot of the pages and really told stories about them. And I think I'm going to share that with members. So if you become a member, you'll get to see that. What else? I'd love to see your portraits of the year. So please feel free to share them on Instagram, on Facebook, or on Schoolyard, and tag them #SBS Draw with me so we can collect them and show them next week. I write an essay every Friday, and
it's free.
It's free, and you can subscribe to it at dannysessays.com. So please consider doing that. And that's about it. JJ?
I have nothing more to add.
Good. Well, how's Twiglet doing?
Have a great week.
Twiglet was...
For those who celebrate, enjoy St. Paddy's Day. Have a green beer.
True. And we'll see you again next week. Hopefully we won't have any diseases, and we'll be able to be back here on time. So, all right. See you all again next time. Thanks for joining me.
Bye, everyone.
And JJ and Twiglet. Bye-bye.